AI will not replace, but the person who knows AI or uses AI will replace.
If AI is the co-pilot, what does that mean for the pilot?
If you leave AI agent in a ecosystem and you didn't roll it back or you didn't deactivate it and you left it there, that potentially becomes a security breach. I have stopped calling myself product management sort of because it is not, you cannot manage things anymore. Okay, that manage word is gone now. The world is pivoting towards product engineering. I don't think it is 1 year down the line. It is happening as we speak.
HSB, Harishankar Singhania School of Business, the new global technology focused business school located in Jaipur.
Today's episode, I welcome Vignesh Kumar. Vignesh is a technology leader with 20 years of experience in cloud computing, AI/ML, analytics, and much more. He is an AI startup mentor, a community evangelist, a TEDx speaker, and much more. His latest work is basically leading the AI initiatives for an e commerce platform for Orange Business. So, what did Vignesh and I speak about? Well, the AI landscape is changing everything around us, the ways of working, the role, the processes, the nature of products that we are building, and much more. That also means that all of us have to adapt to these new ways of working. So we delve deeper into this, whether it is product management, whether it is product engineering, and much more. So we speak about what are these new skills to be developed, how are they measured, and what does it take to survive in the new AI first world. Hello, Vignesh. So, welcome to this episode. I'm glad, though we had a little bit of back and forth about getting this episode together, but I'm glad finally we are making it today.
Yeah, it's pleasure. It's pleasure to be here, Malthi. I know it. We just missed a couple of weeks, but I think it's. I'm glad that it's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for making the time out today, Vignesh. So, Vignesh, I know you are somebody who is in very thick of AI, right? You are somebody who's constantly reading. You are somebody who's constantly writing, constantly, giving it back to the community, right? So probably I want to start with, and you and I were just talking about that how we all feel as if we are on steroids, especially with AI these days, right? So I
Yes.
want to get started on this conversation today, asking what is latest brewing in your lab? What is the latest that is keeping you occupied as of today?
Yeah. I mean, it certainly is a lot, right? Like it is. You feel like as if you are there, then suddenly you feel like you're just lost you're 2 steps behind. So for every 2 steps you take, you're just coming back 1 step. So I mean, if I have to just summarize or think about the last 6 to 9 months, I think that itself is a very long timeline in AI terms. So, what's happening currently is I think a lot of focus is on the agentic AI because mainly because I think now we have understood. My experience has pretty much been, if I look at AI also, right, very centric towards the AI use cases in e-commerce marketplace. And obviously, I work with some of my friends, and we have communities where we talk about other AI gigs. But if I have to really talk about something which is at scale, it's always it'll eventually come back to e-commerce or the code to cash and all those, yeah, the systems and processes, right? And I think initially we all started with the generative side of it. We all were bedazzled by that generative buzz and how suddenly it was like pure magic, right? And that led to a lot of like opportunities and use cases where products wanted to. I mean, even if the back, how do I put it? Even if the feature is required or not, I think the buzzword was we need to be on. Let's do something on generative AI. And as we started implementing generative AI, is when we realized that it's actually the data lakes and the AI pipelines which really are the crux of generative AI, right? So here we are, like after doing all the fancy stuff, as a product guy or I would call now myself as a product engineering mix, right? I don't draw that line anymore. So yeah, back to your good old days of going under the hood, and that is what I keep telling my team, that we all suddenly thought that life is going to be so rosy, so like say like colorful sort of, but it's inevitable. Now I'm back into my shell programming. So that black and white screen, right? You go back to your under the hood, you're looking at the code, what is happening. So I just feel that beyond all this, uh, coming back to your question, I think we do truly understand now what AI brings to the table, because uh, once we go through, it's like the cloud settles, or what we call, it's like when the fog lifts off is when you start understanding what use cases are really tailor made for AI. The moment you understand that, you start thinking about, okay, what are the obvious question now, because of the agentic AI and the buzz on agents. There are two things, right? Just building an agent is something, but thinking about an agentic AI framework and ecosystem is even bigger, because building agent is still, I think, is an extension to what we did as process automation. But
Correct.
truly, the buzz now is when we meet in circles is about how do we enable that agentic AI ecosystem? Like, how do we tailor our tools in such a way that agents can leverage it? They don't cross that guardrail that we are defining. What layers of security we need to put in, the data flows that we have, how do we secure them? I think that's the buzz that's around. Everyone truly understands that we have to eventually go towards the agentic AI. Not 100%, but every use case, I keep telling, like, unless it is a use case like cut, copy, paste of data, which is 100% now you can do it. In any business use case, I think the adoption will vary between that 20-30% to 80%. So you
Correct.
will eventually have some percentage of agentic capabilities in that flow. So that is one which keeps, I mean, a lot of conversations, and it's so fascinating that people who ping or ask some, I mean, who typically respond to my posts, it's globally. I see this. It's be it somewhere in Europe, or be it obviously in the US or India for sure, or in the ASEAN region. Some random thing will come like, hey, why did you write about this? Why did you write about that? And everyone is talking about that. I think that is the good part about it, number one. Second, as an extension, I'm someone still a bit old school, because when you implement AI, the larger responsibility is about how to sustain that AI. How do
Hmm.
you enable, like, it's not like we want to be control freaks, but that's not the idea. But if you don't know what is happening inside a system, you will never be able to evaluate and ever get the best out of that system. That's been the fundamental logic, right? And I that's where I'm a bit worried sometimes when people in the rush to roll out something, uh, just do not understand what can, from an, not just from an ethics standpoint. I think that has been spoken enough. I'm a lot more worried about the security aspect, because if you leave a AI agent in a ecosystem, imagine it's just a test environment. You just left it, and you didn't roll it back, or you didn't deactivate it, and you left it there. That potentially becomes a security breach. It's possible that you can land yourself into multiple layers, right? And it's across the board. It's across the IAM. How do you authenticate people across different layers? How do you, like, if AI is going to, agentic AI tool is going to use a tool, how do you authenticate it? So there's a lot of, uh, I would call it the non-fancy areas we are now starting to discuss, because as long as it was in the generative stuff, we were fascinated. But now it's hitting us that how do we control what our product managers are building, because that's very, very important. And the last one, I'll just wrap it. As you already called out, I think as much as possible try to bring AI in the context of Indian ecosystem.
Hmm.
because that's very, very important. I think uh, the 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 ecosystem is very different. As I go and talk to people, I'm seeing the use cases are different, and you'll be surprised that some of the best use cases are in actually agriculture and rural areas, where people are really, really they can leverage this healthcare and agree in rural. But again, there is a huge entry barrier. So we do work. We are trying to help few people to see if something can be done. So yeah, it just these things just keep me busy, and that's what I do beyond being in the lab and outside the lab.
No, I think that's a lot on the table, but I think I kind of very much agree with what you said, right? I mean, 3 years back, when this whole Gen AI thing came, I think there was a lot of hype that we had. I can do this, and then suddenly we felt, okay, are we going to become irrelevant? But now somewhere that whole thing has settled down. We realize while there is a lot of goodness, there is still a lot that work has to be done. But today I see, Vignesh, we are in a similar phase both for agentic AI, a lot of these tools which can generate, the vibe. Vibe is the
Hmm.
new buzzword that we have. So I think we are right now in the midst of that and trying to see, okay, what does that really mean for, let's say, an enterprise? What does it really mean for realistically? While we have seen, I think from a Gen AI perspective over the last 3 years, while there has been a lot of conscious investments from organizations, I think the
Hmm.
ROI part is just now it has started to trickle in, and we definitely see the needle move to the right. But I think it is still a work in progress. And I think in the agentic AI space, I think what would that mean? I think one thing which we all realize is that our world is changing. The way we operate is 100% changing. But what does it mean for us from a roles perspective, the way we operate on a daily basis, the interactions? I think that also has to settle down a little bit, right?
Certainly, certainly.
Yeah. So actually, usually I get a lot of founders and product person, and you are somebody who comes with a very deeper product plus, the engineering side of it, truly in the operator mode, right? I think
Hmm.
one question which a lot of people ask is that what is AI for you, right? And one of the
Hmm.
common expression I get is AI is my buddy, AI is my
Hmm.
co-pilot, and stuff like that,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Now, one question that I have for you is that if AI is the co-pilot,
Hmm.
how has the pilot has to adapt? What what does that mean for the pilot?
Yeah, I think this is a question that comes in every forum, and I I'm not going to sugarcoat this, Malti, by telling there'll be no impact, or neither will I. I think I like Jensen's quote where he said, "AI will not replace, but the person who knows AI or uses AI will replace." But the more I am using it, I can tell the person who is using AI can replace 10 people.
Hmm.
That is what is the reality. Okay, like. I can single-handedly survive on multiple things these days because I have so many tools running around me, and each of them, to be very honest, look like a resource.
Hmm.
That's how I have trained them. That's how I have started using them. As you said, right? Like no code for me is no code, vibe coding, absolute my best buddy until POC. That's it. I
Hmm.
don't go beyond POC because
Hmm.
after that it becomes a headache. It's a nightmare. It's like I don't want to practical use cases, right? Like I I spend, let's say, 70% of, say, a $10 subscription to develop it. That's it. It's $7. I'm up and running. My POC is working POC. I can go and demo it in any forum. If I'm a startup, I can even go and start looking out for funding. It's
Right.
that good.
Right.
I scale it to one use case. Okay, let's say I just want to add a very simple, like Stripe or some gateway to pay. And I say that, okay, now can you integrate this across from the user authentication to the payment gateway? Boom, first crash happens. Okay, now what happens is you start going into the vibe mode of, hey, I think you made a mistake. I want this. It solves. It doesn't solve. It keeps going. It's keep going. Then it says, okay, I made a mistake. Maybe I'll remove some features. You
Hmm.
keep going. You spent 7 to develop. You now have burnt 10 to try to resolve. And what has happened is in the attempt of AI to solve the problem, it's cutting the features.
Hmm.
Okay. And what happens? And I practically yesterday again I saw it. I had to tell it, hey, you're cutting you're cutting features which we had marked as must have. What are you doing? So then it obviously it was good enough to say, oh yeah, sorry, I'll revert back. But what I'm saying is, I think the reality that we all live in now is the role of a pilot has completely changed.
Hmm.
Now, if the if I call it in this way, right? If the in the past the role of a coder or a pilot was to, let's say, manage different switches in a, let's visualize like an large like that fancy dashboards they have, right? Like control switches or control towers where you have to keep moving all the switches to move it. I think that now the moving of the switches is automated to a great extent. I don't think a human needs to go a sequence of switches. The
Hmm.
problem now is it's not about how fast you react to moving the switches. That was the role that the past people had, right? They were given hikes because how quickly they could orchestrate that. Now imagine that orchestration is completely offshooted to AI, and it can do 100 times better than
Correct.
the best human there. But now the bigger the elevated role here is for the person who's sitting on that desk to visualize, hey, I think I've just covered 60% of what failures can happen in the system. I still believe that there could be multiple more processes or say switch combinations that can be generated, which I think will be far more efficient. Example, if it is in a mission critical domain, like say in energy or something, it could even few seconds of efficiency can be in millions, right? So that is where the person will start getting. I think the role will start changing, and again the point is if 10 people were moving the switches, it's unfortunate that the 10 people will not find the role. That's the
Hmm.
reality we live in. But as long as only one person was switching on switching off, I believe that that one person's role will become far more enriching now, because obviously he or she is not going to lose the role, but there is that pressure of that person to elevate now, think
Hmm.
more from, let's say, design perspective, supervision perspective, how to guide different agents that might be playing. I'm just simplifying by telling switches,
Right.
but there could be multiple agents who are doing his or her work, and in that case how do you coordinate within them? That I think is what is the next role for people. And how this will pan out, I don't I'm still struggling to visualize, because if, and this is where I think data will play, and I still think the data is towards the other side, where we are seeing more people were handling switches. And
Hmm.
if more people were handling switches, it's inevitable that we'll see some tough times ahead. We'll have to find new avenues to move those people who are actually moving switches, because everyone is not going to be, all the roles were not one on one where one person is moving switches and intelligently monitoring it. So
Correct.
that's how it is. If I have to put it in the coding word, can I write this code? Can you write this code was the question. I think now we'll ask, like, can you design a solution? They'll ask, like, can you select the right AIML model to build this solution? How can you optimize the prompts to reduce the cost here? What is the ROI? I think those kind of questions will start coming from the pilot. The pilot will have to
Hmm.
start addressing these questions.
Yeah. No, actually, that kind of, like unpacks a lot of layers to me, Vignesh. For example, one thing which you said is that use it up to the POC level. That means at least I'm able to move, test. If I had 10 ideas in mind, now I'm able to quickly at least figure out that out of these 10, which one are really potential, right? So that part is definitely there. The second part, the way we operate is kind of fundamentally evolving, right? Because we have these tools which are like our assistants or the pilots, co-pilots, which are able to
Yeah.
do it. So that means I need to be able to think through much more sooner about the scale. I should be able to
Mm.
think that how do these various entities are able to orchestrate together. That means the system design sense or the core engineering
Mm.
sense has to play a far more embedded role into this whole orchestration, right?
Yes.
So I want to kind of go here a little bit more deeper, right? And again, there are a lot of conversations, chatter that we hear, right? That would mean a lot of open mindset, unlearning and learning for existing practitioners, whether it is a developer or a product manager. That also means that fundamentally difficult time for people who are just starting up their career, right? I don't even know in today's academic setup, are they kind of, tuned for this kind of a readiness to embrace this? I know you kind of, did have a lot of conversations with institutes and with your teams. How do you see the readiness of workforce today for this kind of an evolution?
It's a big question that is looming in front of us, Malthi, and it is really a big, very big, enormous problem that we need to solve.
Right.
I'll tell you why. Okay, even taking my own example, right? Like, what did a job mean when I joined the industry? It meant someone was going to give me a set of instructions which I had to execute.
Correct.
We all started there. We all started there. We all scaled because we executed something very well. Okay, that is where, right from our education system, we have been taught that. Okay,
Correct.
you read well, you write well, you execute in the exam, score well, you go, you do. I mean, just check where it is. Unfortunately, that execution part, if it is offloaded to AI, that is where people are scratching their head. Then what the hell am I going to do? Like, because I was supposed to execute, and now
Correct.
if that is gone, what is happening? And that boils down from the way we learn from Montessori days, right? Like, maybe
Correct.
Montessori is good. I think the first 3 years of Mont is when you are creative. Now the question is, after you get into school curriculum, I don't think there is any problem in this, the content we deliver to the kid. It's how we deliver across this journey. If we are not taught to go and solve practical problems, and that means it's a very simple word, solve problems, but
Hmm.
it starts by identifying a problem.
Correct.
How do you identify a problem? In the first place, you need to go and tell there is a problem, and then you have to substantiate the problem. You need to quantify it. You need to tell what is the baseline. You need to then tell that, okay, is technology required, or is it just a human problem? Or, I mean, you see the layers that goes into critical thinking, right? And that is when I'm wherever I talk. I mean, I'm not just at undergrad, post grad. Every college I go, I keep telling people the weightage of someone's success should be about how they could practically implement their learnings.
Hmm.
Learning is now ubiquitous everywhere. Today morning, I was seeing my daughter just, I mean, she finds AI tools far more collaborative to learn, because they can explain her 10 times, 20 times without frowning at her, without sending a condescending statement or something, right? So I see a 10-year-old who is adapting to that, and as long as they are using it to learn and make themselves better, I
Hmm.
think things will evolve. And that is where I think people will eventually have to settle the way they have grown, the way they use tools. And my biggest worry is when people offload that critical thinking to
Correct.
AI. I tell all the students wherever I meet that please do not cut, copy, paste your question. Take a dump of what a GPT or chat GPT is giving and submit it. That is not what it is meant for.
I agree.
What it is meant for is, if you didn't understand like like Bernoulli's theorem, you didn't understand. Like, I had to go to libraries and libraries and beg for my faculty's team time to say, sir, I'm not able to understand this. Those days are gone. I have now someone who can teach me even at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Look at how powerful it can be, right? It's about the way we tell people to solve problems. If we teach the next generation to identify problems, solve it, I think we are setting them up for success, and we have enough problems. I know you and Malthi, we have like so much of problems around us. So our kids can really, really think how to be problem solvers. In the process, obviously, you make a product out of that problem. You commoditize, like you make monetize it. Obviously, things start moving. So that's the critical thing. Do not make them task executing people, but problem solvers.
Yeah, no, very, very well said, right? I mean, I think this is, I would say, again, a very revolutionary phase of humankind which you and I are witnessing. I think those who will survive it is that who develop these highly adaptable skills, right? To stay in a state of continuous curiosity and to be able to unlearn, to be able to learn new things. And I think as long as you stay, have those fundamentals, which is first principles thinking, constantly going for the problem things, I think you can still survive. And I'm sure with new ways of working will emerge, there will be new roles which will come out, there will be new problems. As we create new opportunities, we also create new problems for ourselves.
Yeah,
As you
yeah.
said, to be using it mindfully, consciously, ethically, putting those guardrails. I'm sure that there are a whole ton of new roles whose job is only to,
Yeah.
make sure that for example, we are using it very rationally because, of course, AI
Mm.
also has a huge downside on the environment, climate change,
Yes.
which nobody today is even enough. I mean, there is a little bit of chatter, but it has not become that big problem that we are already should be looking at the way. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think we'll come there soon. So actually, you know what? Just taking a leaf out of there, and
Mm.
Vignesh, this is something I'm going back because I also teach a lot of product managers, right? I also do
Mm-hmm.
AI courses. Now, one of the things which I'm kind of looking at this, and there was a very interesting couple of read-ups which I want to share. One is, I think, very recently, Andrew NG had shared in a Y Combinator startup school where he said, that PMs now have to become like full stack PMs. Fundamentally, the role is evolving. That was one thing. Second thing, I saw somebody saying that, they went for an interview and they were unexpectedly, the person was asked to do a white code, right? And there was a very interesting discussion that I saw between my students who said that, what, are we expected to like code now? Are we expected to become more technical now? So since you are somebody who's, day in and day out working with these product managers, what is your take on how is that evolving? I know this might be very different 1 year down the line, but how does it look today?
No, I don't think it is 1 year down the line. It is happening as we speak. In fact, my expectation is exactly like that's why I have stopped calling myself I do product management sort of because it is no, you cannot manage things anymore. Okay, that's
Correct.
that manage word is gone now.
Right.
So that's why the world is pivoting towards product engineering because you cannot, I mean, be in the good old days where you say I'll make the BRDs, I'll make the user stories, I'll explain, then engineering comes, they'll validate. And if you do that, I think, see, number one, the stack itself is so nimble, right? Like all the tools, see, why would that process have worked in the past? Let's
Hmm.
put it in that way. For me to set up, let's say, a demo environment, or let's say a prototype environment, lower instance, whatever we call, right? I had to spend like a week to get that ready. Okay, then I had to install all the libraries, which took me one week.
Correct.
Inevitably, it will crash. I will have to get some expert to come and say, okay, why is my environment not getting set up? So you are up and running my maybe at 12 days or something like that. And then you by the time you are like, I don't have the patience to even build the POC here. Okay. Why would I even so I will give someone, I will continue focusing on my ideas about features. I will look at my what is the must haves, nice to have, etc. And as I am doing that, I will start engaging 1 week lagging my engineering team so that I start preparing them. Hey, this is what is going to hit you. They will start building the environment, and it just is like a bogey of trailing 1 week sort of, right? No, so that worked at that time, and it made sense. But
Hmm.
now in Replit, I'm up and running in 6 minutes. I mean, six is an exaggeration. Okay, in Replit you'll be up and running in 2 minutes. All
Correct.
I need is a login ID. I need to create a space. I need to say that, okay, oh, I have to just check what am I building? I'm building in either Python, or I'm building in React, or I'm building in Node.js. You just open that. It opens the shell. The kernel is up and running. You say install. It just sets up. I am like I can start coding from the fifth minute. And now coding. I don't have to code from base. So you can go and say that, okay, hey, again, like a vibe code, or now it's and like more of conversational. I'm like, this is what my initial ideas are. Tell me what it is. It gives me a list of 7, 8 files to be generated. This is the JSX file. This is the CSS file. Tuck, tuck, tuck. You just cut, copy, paste. You compile the first bare metal frame. If I have to create a e-commerce bare metal landing page, I can do it in 30 minutes with
Correct.
all these two, and that was never a possibility in the past. And
Mm.
that's why now if product managers come with that old mindset that I am going to write how the view is going to look like, where the drop downs are going to be, where my assistant pop-up box will be there, my first question is, guys, get off this wireframe diagrams. I have no, because that is more cumbersome to build than actual prototype. No.
Correct.
And it's easier. So I think product managers are, and the smart ones, and I'm going to refer to, I can't obviously take the names, but there were two very smart. One of my junior, she's a product manager, and her husband is from, again, a very pre Ivy college. Both of them call me and they are like, we are worried about our future. They're like hardly 30, okay, like smart, high flying product managers. They're like, they're worried, we want to know what we are going to do, etc., etc. And then what happens is, like, we talk about this, we talk about what their future is, and they're like, okay, maybe I'm going to, I talk a lot with my data sciences team, Vignesh. I've started learning about LLM workflows. I'm investing time on the understanding what is embedding, what is vector store. I said, yeah, that is foundational requirement now, right? So
Correct.
that is how things are changing, Malti. I think the good product managers can in half a day come back with a POC to win the budget,
Correct.
work with engineering telling that this is what is supposed to happen, and engineering picks it up and accelerates the POC because they have the bare, like when you share that zip file with all the code that you have written already, they have the foundation, they know what you're thinking, and that's how it's going to happen, and it's going to get more and more. I would not be surprised if someday someone picks it up right from product ideation to building the final product. I think a person like me already at my age, I'm starting to do that, and I'm sure there'll be far more people smarter than me who will start acing 5, 6 things at the same time.
No, no, I'm so much with you, and I think the one thing which exactly as you said, right? One of the things which I also feel is that going forward, while I still not endorse this word so much, which is the full stack PM, but what I'm expecting, that's like a little this thing. But what I agree with you is that as a PM, the likelihood that you'll be much more successful, conversational with your peers, with your engineering counterparts is when you're able to understand that, right? I mean, PM as a function itself is a very cross functional function. So you got to be speaking that language, you got to be much more technical. So,
Yeah,
so I would say if you want to be more successful, continue to stay relevant, you have to take the beast by the horns. You got to learn it, you got to practice it, you got to make it truly your co-pilot in your day job.
yeah. I would not. I mean, just to clarify, I would definitely not want someone to start picking up Python coding, 1 year courses, etc. Because that also came in one of my mentoring sessions. Like, should I go and start becoming a full stack coder? And I'm like, that's not possible at 30. It's not. It's
Correct.
impossible. Okay,
Correct.
I do it to some extent. I cannot call myself as a coding guy anymore. But
Yeah.
the fact that I worked in Unix C++ for 4 years in that black screen, the moment I land on a kernel or a shell, I can at least figure what is happening. That's why I attempt to go. But I would
Mhm.
not want people to just jump into coding for the sake of it, because there are smarter tools. There are a lot of smarter tools available. But just understand the basics. That's what is very,
Exactly.
very
At
important.
least how this whole orchestration, how the handshakes happen. Because if your developer is talking about a Visual Studio code, you should not be like completely blank. Okay, okay, what does that even mean?
Yes,
And,
exactly.
and you are right. Look at today. I think troubleshooting probably when you and I started my career, and I was a techie for almost 7 years before I, moved into completely into product management. I mean, troubleshooting some days would be like debugging would be like days
Yeah,
together. Right?
exactly.
Today it is like you take that thing, give it to Copilot, and you have the answer like the very next second.
that's exactly now when I code, right? I just wish I was what would I have been in 2003 if I had these tools, because
Correct.
I still remember that the compiled and ready to deploy, it will show like compiled successfully. That
Correct.
for
Correct.
that one word we will be
Correct.
struggling
No
for that
syntax
entire
error.
day.
No
No
syntax
syntax
error.
error. No syntax error. Warnings is okay. No errors. And we were like, oh
Exactly.
my god, the day is done, right?
From hello world to come to this
Yeah,
kind of a thing. It was, yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah, I
Unbelievable.
mean, yeah, things have changed a bit, a bit. Now, I want to go back to one of the things which you earlier said, right?
Mm,
You kind of use a lot of these tools to do your POCs, and that gives
mm.
you the idea what to take next. Any examples that you want to share where others thought, doesn't make sense, and you did a POC and you kind of, turned it around, made a product out of it or a feature out of it that you want to talk about?
I I think it would be the let's say translation services. One project was there. Okay, so it was way back. Now I'm saying way back, 3 years back, sort of. So it's not that far. So
Okay.
when AI came into picture, I think the one of the main areas that really was it really had a huge impact was on translations, right?
Hmm.
Uh, like speech to text, or let's say even voice to voice, or I think voice came slightly later, but
Right.
text was at least when I touched it, it was pretty good, I think. And some of our support services we used to run in my company. It was language specific, okay,
Hmm.
because APJC was very very language specific. So uh, I would say those ideas were some of the initial ones looked up with skepticism, that will it really translate? I mean, these are collaterals which are going to go in, say, local languages to big clients, and how can we make a like rudimentary error about in translation if the context changes? It did happen, like when we did implement it, the peers from Japan came that the salutation varies apparently by the context in which you're talking, or the tone at which the email came. And it was because the training data was limited, and
Hmm.
it was not able to pick it up. It was just giving a standard template or tone across the board, and that apparently will not be well received in that uh, area. So we did run into these challenges, but as an idea was practically not enterprise use case to start with, became a viable option at first for the text to text. Very
Hmm.
quickly we were able to scale on text because we had good training data.
Correct. Correct.
We were able to like say cut so many I mean the workload of people significantly, because imagine the amount of time you had to use for translations and others.
Hmm.
That was one use case. Second is, I think, a recent one where we are still like, do we allow agentic capabilities inside a virtual assistant? It's
Hmm.
very, very, because imagine you just landed into something like a e-commerce portal and you are talking to the agent, and the agent books an order on your behalf as you are chatting, and
Right, right,
you are
right,
telling with no touch, right? Like you're saying, okay,
right,
I like this product, maybe I will go and buy. That is
right.
the last statement which takes it might affirm once
Um,
that does that mean that Malti, you want to buy this product? Can you confirm with a yes? It gives you two buttons, you click yes. That's it. Your if imagine your shopping journey ends there. It's like it goes to Malti's address, figures it out. It just says, okay, this queue goes into cart. It finds your credit card. Imagine if your credit card, you have 5 credit cards there, and the best credit card with the offer running, it matches it. It bumps it there. Imagine if it all of this happens in one click of a button. We are still deliberating on that, because it is super powerful, but at the
correct.
same time I don't know how scary it might make people, right? So I think these are the type of use cases that looks scary, but I would not be surprised in another 2 3 years we land there, because
Yeah.
all it might say, okay, Maltese threshold is 10,000, anything that is there, or 1 lakh, whatever your threshold is. You can set it up and it just books it for you. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, I think somewhere, as long as it gives me a little control of, deciding where to spend that money or whatever those decisions which are being made, I think that would still make me feel okay. Otherwise, it definitely
It
sounds
is.
scary that
Now
somebody
you see the
understands me so well to take decisions on my behalf from spend to, whatever the activity is.
absolutely. No, actually, now you see how this use case will make your user authentication so much important.
Correct.
See how the pressure moves, right? Like it's the pressure points move. Now, if Malthis or my email ID login ID is very simple, and it has no two-factor authentication or multiple layers of biometrics authentication. If my 10-year-old daughter just finds my phone logged in, and like how today my Amazon is always logged in, right? The app is not like completely secure. So if this conversation happens with my daughter, and if she just presses it, that's it, it's gone, right? So
I
I
agree.
think that's why as a product manager now, that as you develop that feature, you're on hindsight, you'll have to see, okay, how do I ensure that only Vignesh or only Malti has eyes to that particular screen? If
Correct.
anyone else is there, they should not be able to even see that screen. So it's a
I
very
agree.
tricky situation, and we all have to keep evolving as we keep building these things.
Yeah. No, and it is also seen, right? Like as much as this technology comes up with this capability and we are seeing the goodness of it, we are also on the other side seeing whether it is the fraud, whether it is the deep fakes. We are
Yeah,
seeing all those issues as well, right? It is also happening on
yeah.
the side. So, Vignesh, moving a little bit further here, right? I mean, one
Hmm.
of the other thing which I want to understand is that as these times are changing, that also means
Hmm.
that organizations have to constantly adapt to new processes. The org models have to also be, adaptable so that they can embrace these new changes with highest velocity. So, for example, in another conversation that I was having with another product leader, what they said was
Hmm.
that for POCs, for example, on a lot of 0 to 1 ideas, their velocity is like on an all-time high. And
Yeah.
similarly, in certain projects where developers turnaround time in terms of developing the code, the velocity is the new metric for the engineers. And this is, I
Hmm.
think, also one of the thing Andrew Ng was talking about, that are PMs the new bottleneck? Yeah, because are they
Hmm.
able to move as fast as engineers, right? Anyway, that is probably a discussion for another day. But the question I had was that as a product leader, as a product engineering leader, what are some new metrics, what are some new ways that you are looking at to see to evaluate your teams, or how are you adapting in that space?
Hmm. I think so. See, there are a couple of things that stand out. I mean, even now, I would say there are foundational metrics that will really make it. I mean, we cannot go past that. That will always be there. Like example, what is your time to from idea to prototype? Okay, what
Hmm.
is that time, or time to validate it with users, like real
Hmm.
time users? It could be like your friendly users, beta users, whatever be the case. um, or you can go into the DevOps type of metrics that still exist, right? Like what is, how much of manual testing, how much of code review was done, how much of how many iterations you delivered it, uh, number of development iteration cycles vis-a-vis the testing cycles. I mean, all these were always there. It will exist. I don't think uh, it might even become faster now, because in the past we had to collate information, put it into a dashboard. BI tools and all were there, but business intelligence is one. But having a agentic capability running your AI ops, ML ops, getting that data, pushing it into database, live stream, like dashboards, it's going to be that much more nimbler, faster, etc.
Correct.
Now, beyond this, if really, I think the bigger, the toughest question that all of us are now slowly understanding and have to address, because this is a blended metric, right? Like let's look at it, because when I call blended metric, it's a product development metric.
Hmm.
Like it's still a traditional product development metric. Okay, how fast you delivered, how fast you did this, how fast you did that. Now, unfortunately, when you're as you deliver this metric, you are being questioned on. Now it's not a hindsight that we develop AI. Now it is blended into it. Now the question that they ask is like, what is the incremental value that piece is bringing? You have been going like all lock stock barrel on that feature, and in that feature, this is the AI capability. You have burnt this much on that. Now tell me what is the metric on that, and that is where we are struggling, because now since it is a blended metric, you can't go and say I launched it in 3 days. That is like okay, that doesn't matter. Tell me what is that AI in that? What is the ROI on that? I
Correct.
think that ROI calculations are becoming much more tougher, Malthi. And
Hmm.
for that, that is where the real smart ones are turning up and making a difference. Because if you, and again I go back to that POC stuff, right? If you could build something which is without AI in half a day, and with AI capability, that same feature in half a day, in one day you can have a clear like prototype which can give you a baseline of, if this e-commerce portal without AI did $100 worth of business for sure. And with my guided selling AI assistant, just the look and feel, how quickly it can check out and all, if it made $200, it's a straight answer to the management that, hey, based on POC, I can see that we have 100% margin
Hmm.
incremental. I think that is the smarter ones have started doing that. And I'm saying just they have just started doing it. So it's a very minuscule of people are starting to do that, because up until now I think everyone is still focused on just build AI capabilities. Now when the questions are coming that why build that, what is the rationale, give me the ROI, and when they are seeing that traditional metrics are not helping them, the smarter ones are building both and showing that increment.
Correct.
It could be anything. It could be on latency, it could be on security. Take any use case and you can show the baseline with the AI capability, right? You can compare. And that's where I think the new metrics will start coming in. I think we will have more. I still have not used any tools as such, and if anyone builds that kind of tools, which is like a live scenario AI, I can build 5 6 agents to mimic different scenarios. Like like a, if you have a hospital, best doctor with the best nurse with the best technician, what will the profile be? Best doctor, medium,
Give me
this.
your agents and
So
I'll tell you.
exactly. So if I have agents which can be tailor made, and in the old days we used to call them as containers, right? Like, but now if you look
Correct.
at if I have agents in a which mimic multiple dimensions of performance in that domain, and again it should be like a very, I don't want to make it a monster size, let's just small SLMs which can be very specific to their domain, and you create a wide gamut of this, and we have a playground where we can create 7 8 scenarios to play what is happening.
Correct.
That will give metrics in future, and who knows, this will all start coming up in future, and that's where product managers will spend most of their time simulating, or writing rules to simulate. Who needs a product manager to simulate it? You can have a super agent doing that actually.
Yeah, yeah. This role might evolve into these things, and actually, you know what, Vignesh? In fact, I might have. I'll post this conversation. I will share. I was speaking to a founder exactly on this yesterday, and the tool that they are building is exactly the same. You give us
Hmm.
access to all your agents. They have
Hmm.
made certain frameworks based on which the context of the problem that you're solving, they look at the performance of that agent, and they are actually able to give you some out of the off the shelf dashboard which tells you how
Oh,
that agent is performing.
wow. Okay, so it's already happening. I would love to
Yeah.
hear
And
them what
I,
they can
I have,
do.
in fact, in the last, I would say 2 weeks, I have at least met three founders who are building agent marketplaces, right? So
Okay.
while the technology itself is kind of brewing up, getting
Hmm.
ripened up, there are already a certain amount of commoditization already happening up. Why?
Fantastic.
I think how well it can integrate, plug and play across various levels and all that, I think it is yet to be proven. But all I'm trying to
Uh-huh.
say that I think it also shows me certain green shoots that
Mm,
we as a this thing are kind of evolving, right? I mean, whatever we did today, maybe as part of our evolution, we are not expected to write more in the next 5, 50 years.
correct.
Maybe our fundamental whatever our activities are also supposed to evolve. So you never know. Maybe that might fundamentally change.
Absolutely, absolutely. Everything is on, as we said, it's on steroids, and it's almost
Correct, correct.
evolving at pace we have never seen. Yeah.
Correct, correct. And so what I'm hearing is absolutely there were those fundamentally ways of metrics that we looked at. There are these new AI metrics, and I think the ROI in terms of the business is still very contextual to the use case that you're solving. But there are
Mm,
new wave or new set of AI metrics that one needs to look at, marry the three, and that is
mm,
how one can arrive at looking at the ROI or how that particular product AI product is kind of performing is what I hear, right?
yeah.
And yeah, I mean, this was super, super, good information. Now I want to kind of go to the next part, Vignesh. You
Mm-hmm.
are somebody who's into the thick of it. So, which
Mm.
are your go-to resources for learning, reading? Where do you spend some time every day?
So maybe I'll categorize it into, let's say, two, three domains, right? I think one is on learning. Uh, Big fan of the community boards. Okay, so you go to the OpenAI community, or you go to Gemini, Claude 3, like practically you have communities which really talk about I mean, beyond the obvious jazz, what is really happening? Example, what's the enterprise story when you adopt a model vis-a-vis, say, some other model? I think these are when you see people implementing it in real life, not just evaluating in real life, because
Correct.
there's a huge difference. There's a very strong community of evaluators, and that
Mm,
is I see a lot. I mean, there's huge news about this is the fastest model, this is the biggest model, strongest model, whatever name we want to call, right? But the reality is when it hits enterprise use cases, like what does it do in that kind of ecosystem? And that's why I like all these forums where the real problems are brought, where people really ask about integration and discussions on that. Also, the orchestration layer, the tools like LangChain and all, big fan of that because the community again is very strong there. It's a
mm,
very strong developer community who are building. And when you are Ahmad, I mean, you feel like a novice. Like at 44, I feel like a 20-year-old kid is like thrashing me left, right, center, right? Because that's how fast they are learning, and it's so valuable to sit and check what they're doing.
completely.
Similarly, like from my, if I have to really look at like other environments, obviously GitHub, Copilot, uh, amazing resources. I think I shared some 10 resources last week. Those are like you can literally learn from like A to Z of what is a how do you build an agent, how do you train an agent, how do you retain context. I mean, these are foundational things, right? Like if you don't know how to retain context, an agent will never work in the first place. So
Correct.
that's why you need to go into these I see a lot of people still on learning through YouTubes and other things. No disrespect to any of the stuff that people follow, but those should be for your foundational knowledge. I think get your foundational knowledge because everyone is not coming from that background. So
Right.
once you are going through the tutorials or anything from YouTube and all, podcasts, all these are the first level things. Get it done. I think I would have done that 3 4 years back when I was trying to understand what is happening because I was not directly jumping into AI, right? Like it's
Mm,
analytics and then ML and then AI is a new beast altogether. So
right.
to understand the foundationals, obviously I scanned podcasts, I looked at some courses like free courses, paid courses, at least to understand what is a RAG, what is a LLM, what is transformer in the first place, all those foundational things, right? But after that you have to get into hands-on. There's no substitute to actually testing it out because 100 people will everyone will tell vibe code works, vibe code is fantastic, obviously it works, But do you know the practical challenges after a point in time? That you can find only when you go get frustrated for 2 hours trying to help the rational with the agent there, that hey, I wanted this to happen, this is what is happening.
Correct.
So I think people really have to start looking at these aspects like cursor. If you're talking about cursor, don't read and do it. Go and implement, like get into cursor, do it. Similarly, Replit, it's an amazing place to start. Go and start building. That's all I would say. Like beyond that, I think once you start doing that, Malthi, I think you get an ecosystem because
Completely.
someone would have come to that same problem. You become pals over conversation, or they will challenge you, and then you start building your acumen. That's how, at least it's worked for me. I have not done many certified courses, etc. Whatever I've done is jump in, roll the sleeves, try to figure out what is happening and learn in the process.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think off late, one source for me is the WhatsApp University.
It's a good, it's a I mean, I think the community is slowly forming, right? Like you can
Correct.
see initially it was very let's say technical. I think people got a bit scared because it was just about training the model. It was about basic stuff, right? Like the how do you like like build your how do you embed, how do you build vector store, how do you go into model tuning, how do you go I mean, these are all very tough conversations, and that's why people got a bit scared. But now people are slowly realizing, hey, that is like stabilizing. I think I can play on my use cases,
Correct.
and that's where I think many people are jumping in.
Yeah, yeah. No, wonderfully said. And I think, and it's not like a one-time thing. You have to keep doing it regular basis. And I think being part of a community helps you to share as well as learn. And I think
Yeah,
absorbing then becomes more easier, right?
yeah.
Because there's just so much happening. And what is the latest AI tool that you have explored?
The latest one. I think I got a reference from one of my friends on a tool called Emergent. I think it's again a no-code tool.
Okay.
Um, it again, I would say fantastic because in a $10 subscription, $7, I have my fire calculator up and running. It
Okay.
works absolutely fine. I mean, the complex equations that I had written in my Excel, everything works. You can calculate when you can retire, what is your corpus, everything calculation is absolutely perfect. The moment I tried to put a authentication layer, it broke. So it's the same. I think. But what I'm so glad is that link that I can share with anyone. They can use it to calculate when they are going to be financially independent. That's an achievement, right? It's beautiful. It's took me 45 minutes. That's it. All
Wow.
my files I had, all my literature I had about my fire concept, I told these are what my thoughts are. How would you build it, these are what I'm really looking out for, and here is what my old Excel calculator looks like. I gave all this. 35 minutes I was up and running. 45 minutes I have a link which I shared with all my friends, and just that I have to keep the server running, which is slightly it's not that stable. But if someone wants to experiment it in 10 minutes, I can keep it running, and it worked absolutely fine. So I think that's one tool. Beyond that, I think I'm looking out for some like yeah, I don't recollect anything phenomenal beyond the standard ones, right? Like I'm still Zapier, Make.com. If you go into under the hood, it is still Pinecone. Google Studio, AI Studio is very
Hmm.
powerful,
Correct.
which is because when I build the same using I mean, again, I'm not going to recommend anything here, but when I use a OpenAI API key, it's very tough to keep my billing under control. In this, it is practically free. So I, everything which is a POC, everything which is a like my first iteration, I built it. I love Google's AI Studio on that. Then once I have my concepts ready, I think you can
You
always
can just always
think
port
about it.
it.
I don't know. Like, see, the Gemini 2.0 is 2.5, and others are also very powerful. And
Correct.
it all depends, right? Like, it all depends upon what kind of use cases you're dealing with,
Correct.
and
Correct.
what kind of yeah, models you really have to work on. And I'm hearing there are model routers being designed, so one day we'll have them that plugin. So I should not be worried about which model
Which
I need
model
to
to call
choose.
for which use case?
Yes, let the intelligence choose it. But I think these are all concepts and gigs that keep coming and keeps us on the toes.
Yeah, no, I think that's very well articulated. Thank you so much, Vignesh. It was a super, and for me, every podcast episode is like a mini masterclass. As much as my audience, gets the benefit and the nuggets of wisdom, I also benefit and loved this conversation that we had together. Thank you
No,
so much for your time.
it's a pleasure is mine. I think every time I talk to you, I learn some new elements of product management. So thanks for having me here, Malthi. Pleasure.
Thank you. Pleasure is all mine. Thank you, Vignesh. Have a good day.
Have a great
Bye.
day. Bye bye.
Bye.
HSB integrates timeless leadership principles with a cutting edge curriculum to give graduates an edge in the market. Through partnerships with companies and academic institutions within India and abroad, HSB graduates have boundless opportunities worldwide.